Ah, yes, got it. So I just have to press got it, or do I have to extra
Yeah,
press recording as
just
well?
hit record.
Okay. Set request. Okay.
Yeah, we're good. All right. Welcoming back to the show for the first time because the first time wasn't ever actually released. God knows why, what happened there with the lost audio. But we've got Lando Rothbardian from Shop and Bit. How you doing?
Hi, Daniel. Thanks for inviting me back again.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. Well, I guess things happen for a reason, and at least now we have a shit ton more to talk about because the first time we met was in Prague, right? The Liberty in Our Lifetime conference for the Free Cities
Yes.
Foundation
Yes.
last year, last October,
Yeah.
not this one. So a lot of stuff would have gone down for you on your side. So I'm excited to hear, what's been going on. And then you also had your booth at BTC Prague.
Yes.
Anywhere else you turned up this year?
I was at a couple German conferences as well. But for this year, I'm done with touring, so I can spend some quality Christmas time with my family. And next year, we'll be probably at a bit more of events in person to shake some hands and get some of this always working in your own office dust off the shoulders, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's nice to get out there and meet the plebs and get inspired and spread the message as to what you're doing because there are going forward into the next couple of years, there's going to be a lot of plebs out there that have been stacking diligently,
Yes.
exiting one system to enter another system, but still at the mercy of clown world because they still need the fiat currencies of their countries to just to get around every day.
Yeah.
You can't live in a Bitcoin world if merchants and service providers aren't all accepting Bitcoin. Although you have a solution for such people, and this is what many people might be missing or not heard about. So it's great to have you on and actually release this episode. Tell us a little bit about what Shop in Bit is, and then we'll get into the backstory and everything, and what led you there.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm Lando, the CEO of shopinbits.com. We are right now Europe's probably biggest Bitcoin store because we offer a total of over 1 million products that you can buy directly with Bitcoin. So it starts from basic things like the toothpaste, goes over to, I don't know, Iberico ham, and then up to like an iPhone or what, all kinds of different products that we offer. And we do this since December 2018. And you can pay, of course, with Bitcoin and Lightning. And we ship within the European Union. And what has changed in the past since our last recording was that we also do exporting to US, Canada, UK, and Switzerland. So there are more options, but of course, shipping prices are a little bit different there. So check the website. But for within the European Union, we offer free shipping starting from 21 euros if you pay in Bitcoin, of course. Yeah.
Right.
That's our main business, and our second part of our business is our premium services. So that means anything that you cannot find on Shop and Bit, but you're looking for, you can ask our concierge service to organize it for you for a fee. So, like for example, if you're into photography, for example, and you need expensive lenses, for example, and you cannot order it because, I don't know, you live in Eastern Europe and your credit cards and PayPal gets declined when you're trying to shop in, I don't know, Netherlands or Germany, we can buy that for you, send it to our warehouse, and get it to you shipped, which improves your privacy, of course. That will be like one example of the concierge service. You can use it for way many things, but we can get into this later on. And also, we offer travel hacking service with my good friend and partner Trevin Keefe. You have met him a couple of times. He's like the craziest traveler of all time. And he organizes all kinds of crazy trips or just regular business trips as well. Um, So a shout out to the lovely folks at Wasabi. They are also using our service for their business travels, but in general, it can be anything. Like, we had this one customer who did his honeymoon to Morocco, which was super exciting and all the luxury that you can imagine. But on the other hand, you have like people who just want to travel the world and see the various citadels from El Salvador to probably soon Argentina. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
so that's a
Traven,
very quick overview of what we actually do. Yeah.
cool. And I'm going to dig into a few of these things now. We'll stay on travel for now,
Yeah.
because huge, right? You don't get the chance to pay in Bitcoin with any airline, as far as
Yeah.
I'm aware. As far as I'm aware, I think Norwegian were playing around with the idea when I was speaking to Christian Anders. He was talking about that, but I don't think they ever went ahead with it. Yeah, and it's a big expense, right? So if
Yeah.
you are trying to live on a Bitcoin standard, and you're taking a family away on a nice trip, it could be anywhere between 3 to 5,000 euros. If you're going
Easily.
away for easy, right? Yeah, with
Easy. Yeah.
flights and accommodation and anything. So
And the taxes.
oh, that's right. The retarded taxes. When you actually look at the breakdown of an airplane ticket, don't do it because you just get angry. Most
Yeah.
of it is going to government taxes rather than to the airline that is actually providing you the service. But yeah, so rather than switch some corn out on an exchange and leave footprints all over the place and red flags everywhere that you are, exchanging Bitcoin for fiat and then using that fiat to pay, you can just come straight to Shopping Bit. You can use Traven's service, and
Yeah.
he's, like you said, like a ninja at finding the best flights or getting you in lounges. And I know this for sure because on our way back from BTC Prague, I'm not sure if I've told you this story. We were
I don't think so.
Right. Okay. We were coming back from BTC Prague, and Traven texted me. He said, "Yo, dude, are you going to be at the airport today? Are you flying out today?" I said, "Yeah, I'll be there this afternoon with the kids." I had Lauren and Samuel with me, and we're flying out X time. Can't remember. It's some point in the afternoon. He said, "Okay, meet me just outside of gate 54, whatever." No, okay. So we meet him, and he turns up, and he says, "Right, I think I've got enough points to get us all into the lounge. So let's go and try it." So sure enough, we all walk up there. He walks up to the thing. He pulls out like all these cards and and says this, that, and the other, and miles on this one, and that, and that, and that, and bam, in we go. No problem at all into the business lounge. I'm like, yeah, you are the wizard. However, on that particular trip, we flew from Toulouse to Brussels and then Brussels on to Prague. As we were waiting for our flight in Toulouse, it had been put back a couple of times. And we were just at the cafe, and I was just getting myself a beer. And the two pilots turned up to get themselves some coffees. So I made a joke. I said, "Well, it's nice to know that the pilots are going to be drinking coffee and not the beer,"
Hmm.
and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, we got chatting, and I orange pilled them before the flight. And as we were getting onto the flight, the stewardess said to the three of us, "Oh, you can just sit in the front row here, no problem. We know you've got a connection to get onto, and as soon as we land, we'll try and get you there as soon as possible, and you can make your connection and get onto Prague." I'm like, "Okay, great, thank you very much. That's wonderful." So we sit down, belts on. Then she comes back once doors are closed and says to Lauren and Samuel, "The pilot would like to know if you'd like to go and sit in the front with the pilots." And they were like, "Oh, what? Yeah, that would be amazing." So up they go. They sit in the front in the cockpit from takeoff to landing. The
Excellent.
whole journey. They did the whole thing. And they're telling Traven this, and he's getting fucking angry. He's like, "What? I've never been able to do that. I didn't know that was even allowed anymore. Which airline is this? I demand to know because I want to get that."
Yes, that exactly sounds like Trent.
Yep. So it was amazing, and shout out to Brussels Airlines because apparently they are the last airline out there. This is what they explained to me, that still give that discretionary power to the pilots to invite people into the cockpit, and invariably I mean, it depends on the pilot, but invariably it'd be the kids, right? That get to go up there and have a nice time. And he was explaining to me like the reason they do it is like, how are we going to get the next wave of pilots? How like when we grew up, this used to be a generic thing, right? In fact, we
Yeah.
didn't even have the door. There would be a curtain, and you could see the pilots every now and then. It'd be this mystical, wonderful thing, and that inspired a lot of people to enter into that sector. So anyway, yes, long-winded story, and I hope everybody's still listening. But if you
It's a
want to
great
use
story. Yeah.
if you want to use the travel service, Trevin is he's the man, and you can. So how would it work? Somebody just comes in, they just do a direct call with Trevin, or they put in some details if somebody's interested in using this service.
Yeah, so they first just go to shopinbit.com and click on the premium services section and then on travel hacking service. And then there's a form and an explanation how it works. So basically, you just type in, okay, I want to go to, I don't know, San Salvador, this date range, and my budget is X, right? And if you want to have the whole travel experience, you probably should also say what you really like. Like, for example, some people um, want to have extra leg room, that's very important to them, or they want an hotel that's near, I don't know, what would be the craziest idea? Okay, within walking range to the hotel, there has to be at least 3 taxi stations or something, so you can always take, or something like that. So the more precise you tell us, and Trevin, of course, what you want in your travels, the better the offer gets, and Trevin can really work his magic, because sometimes you have some requests and think, okay, so for this example with the Moroccan honeymoon, yeah, so Trevin knows all kinds of people all over the world, so they got a private guide personally vouched for, and they also got an earthquake for free, but that had to do with that had to do with Trevin. Was this year, a couple months ago, when there was this big earthquake, they were actually there, our customer, and but they had a lovely time. So everything is what he looked for. If he wanted to have it as exquisite as possible, private driver, private guides and stuff. So, but you don't have to go overboard like this, because we also had other clients who wanted to do a classic Japan tour. So they went, the flights were exquisite. So, because it's a very long flight, but the local stay was like at, I don't know, traditional monasteries and villages, and not the big Shibuya Tokyo tour. So that's also possible with guides and all the jazz that you want to see in such a vacation. So just be as specific as possible, or not. You can also say, okay, I'm not sure what I would like. Maybe you can offer me some options. What would you recommend?
Mm.
Because what Trevor has probably been in almost all the hotels in Europe and outside of Europe, of course, worldwide. So he knows a lot of hotels, and it's ridiculous sometimes. I don't know how he can remember all this kind of stuff, but
No,
it's like,
he's truly a walking, talking like yellow pages of all things travel, hotels,
yes,
hacks. I was truly impressed. But he loves it, right? It's his
yes,
passion. It's his
yes,
passion to try and beat the system, to try and get as much for as little as possible,
yes,
which is, brilliant to have somebody like him on your side. So he must be paying for all of this then in fiat, and
yes.
you guys are accepting the Bitcoin. So I'm assuming there's a little premium on there as well, because you've got to cover yourselves in case if there's a fluctuation. So how does that work?
Yeah, so we have a percentage that we put on top on the costs for the travel. That's to cover our costs and Trevin's cost, but it's not that much, and it's between. It depends on the flight, but usually it's about 5% ish, maybe a little bit more. It depends on what the times are and stuff. But what you get when you write us, you get fixed offer. There is a fixed price, and then you can just say, okay, yeah, take it or not. Um, and we do the preliminary searches beforehand, so it's not like, yeah, okay, so now you have to pay, I know, amount X, and then we start searching. It's like, okay, if it's like basic thing or regular travels, I would say, then there's no extra check. If you're like planning a real big trip, you must have been a previous customer from us, because we, of course, we cannot spend time on people who want to just see what we are doing. So you can just test our regular services like concierge, or just buy stuff on our website, and then you can say, okay, yeah, I've been a customer before. Please check for me. I don't know. I want to make the Citadel World Tour, first to Madeira, then to El Salvador, and then over to Japan and back to Europe, for example. That's then no problem. But if you like zero connection with us, it's also better for you to first check our regular service to see if we are legit. As you know, don't trust, verify. So even though you're listening here on this excellent Once Bitten podcast, you should, of course, beforehand test if what we provide is actually true. Yeah.
And I'm now looking at a different. So we're going to switch gears here,
Yeah.
because shopping bit cars, like you're selling cars now as well.
Oh yes, I totally forgot. Yes, we also sell cars now.
When did this kick in?
Like a month and a half ago.
Wow,
Yeah.
man, this is awesome. All right, okay. So how did this come to be? How are you now a second-hand car dealer?
Because when someone asked for it, it's mostly like that. Like
Right.
I see myself as the last middleman. That's like my moinker right now. So
The middleman of last resort.
no, I mean like the last middleman, right? So it ends with me that we are exchanging to fiat. That's my personal drive right now. So what I hope is that people see our website and think, oh my god, this guy, he bootstrapped this company and it actually works. 5 years going, still no data leaks, still sending out products, still making uh, like people happy that they can actually use their Bitcoin directly without, or almost directly, right? That's why I'm saying last middleman. So that's what I'm hoping to inspire. But this specific shop a bit cars thing happened because someone asked, yeah, I really need like a new car. So can you help me with that? And we were like, okay, yeah, that's difficult. Let's see how it works. And we were testing a couple of stuff. And yeah, it actually worked out. And then we thought, okay, there might be a market for other people who also want a car. And maybe even for digital nomads like yourself, if you're looking like for a new car, but would also like to have a license plate so you don't have to put your private address on full display, because that's usually with a regular license plate, it's one phone call away to know the full address of the owner of the car. So we also offer, if you buy a car with us as well, that you get a license plate from Shop and Bit. It's a Polish license plate. So then if someone calls up the authorities and see what's the address, then they get our company address that literally stands on our website. So that's an extra privacy layer. But for example, if you like digital nomading and you know your home base is like, I don't know, Madeira, but you're mostly on the road within Central Europe and Western Europe and Eastern Europe, then it's probably easier to just have a Polish license plate and do the once a year technical inspection in Poland. It takes like 20 minutes and then you just leave and maybe have a nice sightseeing in Krakow or Warsaw or one of the other beautiful cities in Poland. And yeah, that's how it came to be, and that's what we offer. Yeah.
So I'm interested to know, how many cars have you sold so far? Is it just that one kind of proof of concept?
No, we sold 2 cars in the last 30 days.
Man,
Yeah.
I love it. Lambos?
No Lambos, regular cars. Like the one was an Audi SQ5.
Right.
It's a pretty nice car. And the other one is a little bit more extreme. It's a GLE 63S AMG Mercedes with like 500 PS.
Whoa.
Insane car. Not my type of car. I personally think like me and Vlad, we have the same opinion on the car brand, but not on the type. So Vlad from Bitcoin Takeover, you might have met
Vlad
him.
Cuesta. Yep.
Yeah. So he is super into the Toyota Supra, and my personal opinion is that Toyota is the best Bitcoiner car, but not the Supra.
No,
Sorry,
the Land
Vlad.
Cruiser, of course.
Land.
The Land Cruiser is the Bitcoin Citadel like pleb car.
Yeah, probably, but I'm just in general thinking like a Toyota is like has low maintenance.
Yep.
Um, it's like super efficient, and it's not turning heads, which is the kind of thing you want. Even if you're like driving a RAV4 or something, which is the biggest car from Toyota, like no one bats an eye. It's like so inconspicuous. Like you're driving around town all day, and like, oh, really? Did I saw a Toyota? Yeah, probably. If you want to really go into the privacy ghost type lifestyle, you just buy a Corolla and put a sticker on the back with like random numbers, and people think you're an Uber driver. So,
Yeah, exactly. Random numbers like I think the best license plate anyone could buy would be 821M. So the 8
why?
being infinity,
Ah,
everything divided by 21 million. Come on now. Come on,
no,
people.
no, no. That's too obvious. Like,
To
seriously, for
who?
blending in.
Only to plebs, right? To anybody else, they're like,
Yeah. That's I think it's a great idea, of course. But for me personally, I'm the paranoid type, so I would just go with random stuff that's allowed by law, and then put it on and
right.
drive a black, white, or silver car, and then just be like hiding in plain sight.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm a big Toyota fan as well. I had Land Cruisers, which
Mm,
yeah, I loved. The old style
yeah.
Colorados, and also had when I was in my Fiat career, I had a Toyota Celica GT4 with
Mm,
the pop up lights. That was just
nice.
amazing,
Yeah.
beautiful car. And I remember that car specifically from growing up when I was a kid watching the WRC, and Carlos Sainz was winning all of the World Rally Championships in that car.
Yeah.
So man, that's awesome. That Mercedes, that is not a cheap car. You're looking at 150 grand. I'm
No,
guessing.
no, no. It's not that. It was a used car, to be
Right.
precise. So it
Okay.
was a little bit cheaper, but still, it was a interesting experience. And
So the guy comes to you, says, "This is the kind of car I want." You
yeah,
go out and source it. Make sure it's up to specification. It's got
yeah,
the control technique or the MOT, whatever from
yeah,
that country. You'll put some plates on it if they want as well to make
yeah,
sure it's privatized. And then you make like you're it's like the travel thing as well. You'll go back and say, right, this is the price in Bitcoin before you transact, and then you'll
yeah.
pay in fiat.
Exactly.
Where are you making the transactions? Like, are you having to go through exchanges and stuff to do all
Yes,
this?
of course, of course. But we are full KYC with the exchanges, so it's not like so. What people don't understand is that we have real invoices to prove that people bought stuff, and it's not like we're like making things up. It's like there's a clear paper trail. There's transportation. Um, what's it called? Papers like that the car was received by the customer, etc. So you cannot just there's what we do not offer is anonymous buying. That's not possible. Like seriously, we offer privacy but not anonymity. So
Mm.
you have to put your name on the invoice, especially with this kind of car.
Mm.
There's no flexing around. People are asking questions, of course, but it's not like a problem with in general to exchange the coins because we have been like this is our side business. We are buying and well, we are selling Bitcoin to buy products from all our suppliers all over Europe, and with 1 million products, it's not like a few of them. So um, there's already trust, and we are recognized by the exchanges as well, that they know, okay, the shop and bit guys, all right, yeah, sheesh, what they are doing again, yeah. So, and I think they're probably pretty happy this month because I'm happy as well. So,
Yeah.
a little milestone achieved um, during the spare market. Actually, I was very surprised that we were able to, um, yeah, have the second best month of our company history this month. So yeah,
That
and it's
that
bear
goes to
market.
show, right? That
Yeah,
goes to
yeah.
show.
So
I
it's
mean,
really fascinating to see, like within the last 5 years, that we are now um, that we've come this far, that there are enough Bitcoiners who stacked already enough corn to like support a business like ours. And I
mhm.
think that's like the main message for the people listening right now and are on the fence about, okay, should I go into entrepreneurship myself with the Tim Ferriss Bible for our work week and start crackening there? But yes, you should. And I think we need way more points of acceptance that we have right now, because that's literally my goal. I will retire as soon as I'm not longer needed, and then I will live happily in my garden space and learn how to garden, or I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, no, that's correct, and it's. I mean, I guess it's inevitable when you look at the hodl waves, right? The amount of
Yeah,
Bitcoin that has not moved from an address for X amount of years. Well, at one stage, like if you are, I think this is the curve of a Bitcoiner. You fall into the rabbit hole, you start stacking, then you like start actually stacking your tiny little tits off because it's just going like you've had all of the epiphanies, right? And it's
yeah,
hodl, 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 hodl. Get all of that fiat that you can until the point you're like, oh shit, I'm actually out of fiat. And I do want to leave my job because this is soul sucking and crushing. And
yeah,
I'm at the point now where I could probably live pretty comfortably because, or I just want to work in the Bitcoin space. You know, I want to work for Bitcoin.
yeah,
So that Bitcoin will need to be used to buy goods and services going forward in the interim. And I think we're going through this period where those that have been stacking for at least 5 years, you know, you've been through one cycle,
yeah,
you've got the knowledge, you've built up that conviction. It's a lot less scary to start spending your Bitcoin, especially for the things that you need, want, or desire, right? And
yeah.
that's that's an interesting kind of arc that we all go through. But to begin with, you're an ardent stacker, then an ardent hodler, then reality kicks in. You're like, I actually want to live in a Bitcoinized world and use my Bitcoin and add and reward the goods and services with the best money ever available. With you know like the intent of keeping them afloat and keeping them in business because without them, where would we be? We'd still be all on a fiat standard forever.
Yes, that's true.
So, all right. So, when property,
With the EU, never. I can already put that out. So, buying property, real estate within the EU is so problematic, especially if it has anything to do with Bitcoin or cryptocurrency or cash or gold. So there has been some law changes in the last years, and it's not like we're not getting the property question every year
right?
on the regular. But no, it will never happen. The EU is, yeah, beyond reprise, I guess. Is that the right term? I'm not sure if that makes sense. Yeah. So they want to have all the, yeah, they want to have it in their fist to control who can buy real estate, and they want to have it the fiat way. Outside of the EU, it's actually super easy. So you can hit us up, of course, if you want
Mm.
to. Um, but yeah, inside the EU, never. That's I can say this with confidence because my lawyers are always in my neck about it. So no.
Damn. So, how's that give? I guess we just have to wait for those people that are desperate enough to get into the Bitcoin economy that they would sell their house for Bitcoin. But even then,
Probably. Yeah.
the problem being I see is well, the banks own all the property, right? Very few people own their property outright.
I think so. I'm not so versed in the real estate market. But
Yeah, I mean,
uh, yeah,
I would say the lion's share of property out there is mortgaged. People are living in their houses, paying a mortgage to
mm,
a bank. So
mm,
therefore, if you want to buy that house, you have to buy the house from the bank. Like it's the bank's
yeah.
house. Are they going to accept Bitcoin? Even if the seller wants to accept Bitcoin, yeah, go try telling your bank that. So we got a long way to go, I think, on property and Bitcoin. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
I guess we would probably have to push more for the free city, to have our own free cities and then just be done with it, because I think personally it's like, as I mentioned earlier, the Argentina story is like, it's a nice step that they finally have someone politically that is a little bit more on the freedom side. But then again, how much is the word of a politician worth? I would say zero. But
Yep.
um, to finally overcome all these um, historical problems that the statist system brings with it, we have to start anew, and there is no way around it. So I've like you're personally pretty involved in the Madeira Free Madeira movement,
Mm.
as I recall. So that's a very good step. But for me personally, after this whole 2020 to 2022 story, I'm done with half or not 100% solutions. So that's why my personal super big dream will be to build my own free city and then just let it go ham with 0% tax on nothing. Like there will be a minuscule yearly fee just to get registered. Oh yes, you're actually a citizen of the city, and that's it. And we don't offer any other services. Everything else has to be done by the people themselves. And maybe I could make a second company for meditation between two citizens, but not with myself. So, and then it's like, okay, maybe that will work someday. So if
Mm.
you happen to listen to this podcast and have a big patch of desert land available, I might be interested soon.
Good. Yes. And yeah, mediation, not meditation, although that could be a good service as well. Between yeah. Right. So, what is the best selling product on Shopping Bit?
The best selling product, I think it's still iPhones and and lubricants.
Oh, okay. For your
Yeah,
engine?
no.
All right.
The water-based lubricants, not seed oils. The dum.
Okay, all right. I'm looking back on the site now, and yes, there is an adults only section. Who would have thought, ladies and gentlemen, that it looks as though the yeah, the sex industry is still king on the internet.
Well, it makes sense, of course, because you have the extra privacy of Bitcoin transactions and Lightning transactions, of course. Um, and we are also very data friendly. So if you happen to be a cybersecurity guy, you can check we have no analytics. Like seriously, we're blind diving e-commerce. I've been told many times that this is stupid, but well, I'm very for privacy. So there's also, you don't have to make a customer account. It's by default optional. So you actually have to go out of your way to make a customer account on our website, which you can do, of course. But if you do not make a customer account, we can pseudonymize your personal data after 30 days. So instead that there's your real name on our service, then there's standing like xyz at xyz.com or something like that. So, but you of course get a real invoice because we're a legal EU company. So you get the invoice, and after everything is said and done, we make the data disappear on our servers, and that's why we didn't have any data leaks in the last 5 years. So,
Mhm.
toy, 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 knock on wood.
Yep. Right. Okay. I hope you've got a good stock in the warehouse of green dildos going into the.
Yes, yes, we have all the colors and flavors. Yeah, it goes from green to rainbow colored. So whatever floats your boat. We're into all the kinks. Yeah.
Okay, so well, let's learn a little bit about yourself then, and
Yeah.
how you come to end up running a an online e-commerce store based on a Bitcoin standard.
Yeah.
What I mean, I'm sure what was going on before this. Your fiat role, and what did you study in college? Where did you grow up? What's been the kind of curve leading you up to this point?
Yeah. So I actually never went to college.
Good,
Yeah.
because you're an entrepreneur and you didn't
Uh,
have that beaten out of you.
I didn't knew that I was an entrepreneur. So my problem in middle and high school, I think that's the term, was that I had various ideas what I wanted to do, but nothing was really like, yeah, gets me going, right? So I was just floating around, working odd jobs. Like I worked at the McDonald's as a cashier. I worked as a hotel receptionist, concierge in a hotel, and then I went to work on in a call center. And in this call center, I it became obvious that I have a personal skill for customer service. So I had very high standards for how to talk to customers. So I was promoted on my first day to train others how to be more friendly on the phone.
Wow.
And yeah, it's a super weird story.
What was the call
And
center like? What you were? What were you doing? You were selling, or you were just?
no, it was not selling. So I started for a mobile company. So the call center company that I worked for was a service provider for other companies.
Mhm.
So usually big corporations, they outsource their call center services to other companies that do that because it makes sense from a employment uh, costs perspective, right? So this particular project where I got promoted on the first day was like for a mobile phone provider in Germany, and I was just then calling, of course, talking with people about they want to register their SIM cards, right, and have questions about their tariffs. And uh, my specific task was to go and listen to other people's calls and give them feedback on, okay, why did this particular sentence sound super rude, um, or not, and what they can improve, of course. And yeah, so after I think 2 years of doing that kind of work, I got promoted to project manager for a project for the Metro Group, Metro Cash and Carry. You might have heard of them. um, that was a weird in between call. It's not customer service, but it's not also outbound, so sales. So it was a very, very weird call because we were tasked to call like a couple, it was like usually around 50,000 to 80,000 phone numbers from Monday to Thursday, and they were for from the hotel, restaurant, catering type, and it were the weekly offers of specific groceries, like I don't know, Argentinian steaks, potatoes, whatever, what a restaurant would need like in a week, right? And this call always had to be between Monday to Thursday, and we were called like 80,000 people max, or sometimes even 120. It was really ridiculous. The problem, and you will understand why I explained the story, because it's very important to how Shop and Bit could actually be founded, because that was my training ground. So I was I was paid to learn how to be a salesman, or rather an entrepreneur for small margin companies,
Mhm.
because this field is like margins are ultra thin, and call centers have like I think this third highest sickness rate of all industries. So you have air flight controllers are first place, second place nurses, and third place is call center agents, because it is effective from a sales perspective, because we were calling all these restaurants and it was a direct line to the chef of the restaurant, and they're like, yeah, I have no fucking time, just get on with it, what's the offer? And you have like 30 seconds to explain, yeah, Argentinian steaks, so and so euros per kilo, 2 euros per kilo potatoes. We have this wine, Cabernet Blanc or whatever. I don't know. I have no clue about wine. Please don't hate me. Yeah. So, it costs, I don't know, €3 per liter, right? And then the call is done, 30 seconds, because he's the chef. He's preparing the foods and the plan, and they have no time and no chill. So it's a 30-second call. And then now you have to imagine, as a call center employee, you're doing this 8 hours a day,
Yeah.
right? You're doing like a couple. Yeah, it's crushing mentally.
With really, really crippling KPIs as well, right? Key performance indicators that
yes,
you're being tracked.
Yes, of course. It's a very hardcore business. So it was very important for me to learn the skills, optimize processes, and that's where the 4-hour work week came in. Because while I was working there and was getting overwhelmed with my tasks because they exploded, it was more and more, and micromanaged lots of stuff, right? And then I found the 4-hour work week by Tim Ferriss and organized my life. And then I turned this, what was formerly like an 60-hour work week, into like, I think I turned it down into 10 hours or something. It was unheard of. And
without getting fired.
Without getting fired, right. Exactly. Yeah.
This is, because... and like, again, I want to pinpoint that. Yeah. Tim Ferriss's book is fucking amazing. It changed my life as well. So if anybody hasn't read it, it is still relevant. It's called The 4-Hour Work Week. It inspired you and inspired me at different ages and different times in our lives, right? I was stuck at my desk doing like 10, 11 hours a day, brokering foreign exchange, and 36, married with 4 kids. So it's not just for like the 22-year-old that's looking to become an entrepreneur. So sorry to interrupt there. So you read the book, you cut your hours down. So what were you doing? Were you doing that trick where you would just like try and condense calls as quickly as possible, kind of outside of usual hours? That was one of his tricks when he was working in a sales.
No. We have specific time schedules where we were allowed to call. You cannot call a restaurant at 3 a.m. That would be excellent. Yeah. No. So it was regular business hours, but I was able to, first of all, the first thing you had to do is like check the processes for preparation. And they were so convoluted, and like, there was this, so one example, right? So there was this, they had this whiteboard, this physical whiteboard, where they were calculating with calculators how much man hours were still available during this week, right? This was ridiculous. So the first thing after reading the 4-hour work week was, okay, fuck this shit. I need to cut all the analog stuff. I'm building Excel sheets like a maniac. And then I built Excel sheets like a maniac and was able to, this process of calculating how many hours are left with the forecast that the calling software gives out. And it was not a sophisticated calling software, because usually now they do this as well. But back then it was like 2013 something ish. So it's a while ago. You had to calculate it yourself. But okay, I have the Excel spreadsheet. Okay, now I saved like 5 hours a day already, because you have to calculate like every 2 hours at least, or actually you will have to do it every hour, because you need to know if you need to get more people on the calls, because it's a lot of data that has to be worked on. And also you of course delegate stuff that you do not need to do directly yourself, and give more powers to your employees. So I like made a couple of the very good employees. I turned them also into coaches for other for the other agents, so they could talk with them directly, and I don't have to go around and also check what the quality of the calls was. And then it was like this special event. Oh shit, Lando is coming through. He's checking what we're doing. Okay, show our best and stuff. So that's one part, like delegating and optimizing processes. But the other part was to have a better feel on the social structures within your team, right? So since this call center environment is super stressful, you have to make sure that there are no troublemakers in your team. And you have to spot them very fast, because as soon as you have like people who have this urge to be super present and always be the center stage, they are not a good fit for a call center team for calling people, because this gets annoying to people, and as soon as people start to get annoyed, they are more prone to get ill, and then your quota gets up because you still have to pay the people even if they are ill, because well, it's the reasonable thing to do, of course, but it's also the law. And you have like slim margins. You cannot just have like half of the team on that's on payroll but ill, but then you have to get the same amount of people extra in from outside sources or from other projects to cover the tracks. And it's like, yeah, it's very intricate. So you have to also consider this part. And what I learned during this time is that my skill is not, I'm not a doctor, I'm no specialist. I'm the guy who organizes shit. I solve problems. That's my very particular skill set. And that was the moment I found that I need to find an idea and make my own company. And then it took me like a couple of years more to get to the point, but I just wanted to close this call center section. Yeah, so that's like, that was the moment where I saw, okay, I need to change something. And the call center wasn't the right fit, because I stumbled into another problem, which was I now reduced my hours to 10 hours a week, right? And all the other middle management guys, they were envious. They were like infuriated. Like, they're like, how can this guy only work 10 hours and get full payment? Like, he comes here at 10 a.m. and leaves at 4. Or sometimes even I leave an hour later because I have nothing to do. And like, and they couldn't be mad because the numbers were all right. We were making profit with the project, and everything was prepared. There was not like, oh, no, yeah, they don't know what to do. The employees were informed about what our goals are, so I don't have to explain, because most, like, again, communication is key. That's also what Tim says in his book. But I learned it there, that it's very important to, like, even on the basic level, like the lowest employee has to have an idea what the main goal of the company is and what we're trying to achieve as a team. So if you're like, most people are like, yeah, okay, don't explain too much, they should just work like a drone. That doesn't actually work. It's totally stupid. Like, they have to understand, if we have to get this many calls in this week and we need to be that fast, so please check your numbers yourself. I can watch all the time, but you know yourself what's good, and if there are problems, please come to me. And then people will come to me and explain to me why they cannot make these numbers. So I had always had this feedback loop. Like, I had small little mini entrepreneurs in their own field. So the employees started to have their own little business, which is getting calls out as fast as possible. And they were like, okay, we have this conversation guide, right? So it would say what you would have to say. And the employees would come to me and say, okay, this sentence doesn't work. We can cut 5 seconds extra if we phrase it like this. Then we tested with 5 other employees and then set it out as the new standard. And it was always this feedback loop. But you need to trust your employees, and your employees need to trust you. And then you have this, you can turn this usually mind-crushing, mind-numbing work of call center into a field where people would say, yeah, you know what? I'll take minimum wage and work with Lando instead of doing outbound sales calls for €5 extra an hour, because, like, I have no stress. I know I can go there, I can work, and it's a wonderful work environment, and I can meet my friends and stuff, and it works, and he understands and whatever. And have some, even though if it's not like the grand world-changing experience that but you're making, you're like seriously seeing that you have some impact on your own work, even though it's a menial task, you could say, or as or as we said it internally, it was like monkey work. But you were only allowed to call it monkey work after you finish an 8-hour session in our team. So the other people from outside within the company, but not in our project, they were like, yeah, isn't this monkey business? And I say, you sit down here 8 hours a day and then you can call it monkey work. If you're not doing it, you have no right to say this is monkey work. And some people actually do it. Some of the did it back then, of the other middle management guys. They came in, they made out our discourse, and they were so crushed. Like,
Yeah.
oh my god,
Yeah.
I'm so exhausted. I cannot do this anymore. If someone says Argentinian steaks again, I'm flipping out. Like, yeah. But yeah, I totally forgot what I wanted to tell you, so please interrupt me right now.
Yeah. No, that's set it up nicely. So, but where did Bitcoin come in? Because you've obviously had this. So right, yeah, you got paid to learn all of that rather than go
Yeah.
to college and spend $200,000 to learn nothing, right? So
Yeah,
that's the opportunity cost right there for those listening.
exactly. Yeah.
So you've come to the conclusion that you want to start your own business. You have that skill set. You know what to how to do, how to set it up. Bitcoin's entered the story somewhere, or Austrian economics has entered
Earlier,
the story somewhere.
yeah, way earlier entered Bitcoin because I was hating on governments. I don't know. I think probably I've been a teenager, but without a
Which
clear
country was that?
Germany.
Right.
Yeah. So from personal experiences, I was just hating governments with a passion, but I had no like mental model to explain my anger or make it concise, right? So I was I don't know, it was like around 2008, 2009, when the recession hit. And I was like, okay, how can this be? Everyone was making money back then, and now vacant lots left, company closings right, banks closing. I didn't understand shit. So I went on the internet, of course, because I grew up with the internet. So the first thing you do is to just go on the internet. And I made a little detour into conspiracy theories. And I think I've wasted like a couple of years reading this like really obnoxious bullshit that was posted by people who have clearly no clue about the world and just making shit up. But it was a nice story and was more like a thriller. But something happened, I think I would say 2010-ish, that someone posted a link and said, you know what, this is all bullshit, you should read some Austrian economics, go to mises.org. And I was like, huh, okay, yeah, so let's see what they're about. And then there's this website about Austrian economics, and like, I have never heard about Austrian economics. I'm literally just 200 kilometers away. Like, how can this possibly be? And so I started reading it, and like having complex economic problems explained to me like a kindergarten kid, and I was finally understanding what was happening. Like, they're printing money, this is not good for the economy, why, and praxeology, and there came Mises, and then I read more Rothbard, and I'm like, okay, that's why I hate the government. Yeah, man, economy, and state. Oh my god, it was finally explained to my own feelings, were to explain to me in a language that I could understand, so I can go forward with it, right? So a few years passed, and it's now 2011, and I've read so much. Also, during my work time, I read so much on Mises.org. So thank you to the Mises Institute. I've probably have a college degree in Austrian economics just by reading your website for free. So if you have not tested it out, just check out Mises.org. So I came at this point where I was like, okay, I know why it's not working, but what is the solution, right? And and the general solution was like gold standard. Go back to the gold standard. Everyone was jazzing about the gold standard. But then in 2011, I was listening to, I think, Stefan Molyneux. Yeah, I was listening to his podcast, and then he was talking about Bitcoin and how it's interesting, and a free form of money like digital gold. You should check it out if you like Austrian economics and non-aggression principle. And I was reading this white paper back then and was like, oh my god, yes, that's actually it. That's the solution everyone was looking for. Decentralized money. Yeah, and before you come to the wrong conclusion now, listening to this, like, ah, shit, he must have been making bank. No, I was stupid and 21 years old. So I was like, okay, yeah, let's try it out. Put my little money in, and yeah, uh, spent a lot of Bitcoin on fancy restaurants with pretty girls, which is in hindsight is always 2020, right? But um, yeah, I had a great time. I had some extra funds available and knew about Bitcoin, but it was more like, okay, I hadn't my life in order. I hadn't really found my passion. It was before my call center time. So when I came to the call center, I was already knowing about Bitcoin, saving always a little bit in Bitcoin, but just living a regular life because I was young and stupid. Like I was not thinking, yeah, okay, it could be multi-million euros in the next few years. I was just like, yeah, I have my own little savings and can live a wonderful life and improve on myself. So fast forward a couple years later, even after my call center time, I tried different things out. If I tried some hardcore sales for a website company and also for a ERP company that's like the software big enterprises uses. And that was my last employment at this ERP company because I saw that I I turned out after all this reading of Mises and Rothbard and Tim Ferriss and Bitcoin. I was like, this can't be it. I cannot be just doing work for other people. And I had the problem that I could not progress anymore within that company because sales is like you can only sell more and that's it. And I'm
Yeah.
a very weird kind of person that I need new problems to solve every 6 months or I get bored. So I needed to start my own company. And that's where Shop and Bit kicked in as an idea that was like 2018. Yeah.
Cool, man. Wow. Always always love to hear the rabbit hole stories and what turns our minds upside down and what inspires us to start something new and take that leap of faith, right? Which
Yeah.
keeps so many people in their seat, not trapped basically.
Yeah.
Not willing to take that next step, to take that risk because and the risk is just perceived, right? Because really on the other side of things you are a very very capable problem solving machine. All of us, that's what human beings do. We
Yeah.
solve problems. Unfortunately, we've been led to believe that actually the only problems you need to solve exist between 9 to 5 and belong on the on on email, or the never ending loop of email and phone calls and dreaded company meetings and just oh
Just no meetings. First rule of Tim Ferriss' book: just no more meetings. Just fuck meetings. Just send
yep,
emails.
exactly.
Yeah. No. You're totally right. But there's only perceived risk, I would say, because going broke is a problem which is only temporary, right? So now I know it sounds super fancy and all like I did grew up with silver spoon language. I was broke all my youth, so I know what I'm talking about being broke is. But other people they experience a different type of broke. But most people who are probably listening right now are in a position where they have their regular 9 to 5 jobs and actually going broke is very difficult. So it's not like you and I we're always talking about starting your own business, becoming more free and stuff, but it's not like you have to start with going like full bananas, quitting your day job, live off your saving and start a company. That's the stupid way to do it, right? I actually didn't even do it this way. I had my full-time jobs and worked at night until 3 in the morning and changed my sleep schedule so I could sleep for 4 hours to go back to work. So, you can go this route. It's very extreme and you have to like it or be willing to sacrifice your life in this specific way. But it's one option to start. Like, so it's not, nobody's saying that you need to head dive first, fuck everything, no responsibilities. I'm starting the company, put all my private funds in it, and just like YOLO. No, that's not the way to do it. So if there are some young people listening right now, I hope there are, not just these old Jesus like us. No.
Yeah.
That you just at least try something. You test and you repeat and you test again, and you always have this loop of testing stuff, right? So that's what we do with at Shop and Bit with all our stuff, right? You have a very weird idea, like for example, what's the easiest thing that most people do? Like, I don't know, they do Bitcoin merch, for example, right? So you have a talent for knitting and fashion, right? And then you think, okay, yeah, maybe that could work. So you make one specific product specifically for Bitcoiners or whatever, and say, okay, this is the perfect Bitcoiner scarf because XYZ, right? And then you test out if it works. And the great part about running a Bitcoin business is you don't need all this analytics shit. There's just one Austrian economic metric that you need, and that is if you are making profits. If people are paying you money for it and you have more than before you started, then you're doing the right thing. And if you're not getting money in, then you need to change shit ASAP, immediately. Like, it's very simple, but most business courses and colleges, they explain to you that you need to have XYZ data, and there's a, I don't know, potential market share that you could capture and shit.
Mhm.
No, you need to know if you're making money or not. That's like the basic metric that everyone can understand. So you don't need a college degree to start a company, but you just need to understand that, to quote Mises, a little bit butchered, but it's a Mises quote, profit is the signal of the market that the services or goods that you provide are valuable to society. That's like the only metric that matters. That's why profit matters, and that's why Bitcoin companies. There have been some, which is my personal gripe, is that there are lots of Bitcoin companies that are like, yeah, we are more open source and no profits and stuff. And I think this is the wrong way to go. You should always go for the profit. And if you're not specifically a non-profit like BTC Pay Server, for example, that makes sense to be a non-profit. It's not doesn't make sense for your t-shirt business, for your podcast, for your, I don't know. You need to be a for-profit business, or else you are having a new what's it called, pastime, hobby.
Yep.
Yeah, sometimes blanking on the English words. Yeah, so man, long rant.
Yeah, no, it's a good rant because, well, I know exactly what you mean, and you read some of these books, like how to start a side hustle, or what was the can't remember the guy who wrote that book, famous quote, like, and I heard this one, God knows how many times, rammed down my neck. If it's not measured, it's not managed. Uh,
Yeah,
can't remember who that was, Dale Carnegie or someone like that. I can't remember.
yeah,
And it, like, but as I think Tim might have pointed out, actually, you get paralysis through overanalysis, and
yeah,
like like you got all of these nice shiny metrics and forecasts and whatever else, but like you said, at the end of the day, if what you're shipping isn't shipping, then doesn't work. Market
yeah,
doesn't want it.
yeah. And that's the good, and also you could say the bad part about Bitcoin businesses in general, because in regular e-commerce, to stay in my personal lane, you have fiat e-commerce and then there's Bitcoin e-commerce. Because in fiat e-commerce you can sell all kinds of stupid shit. You just have to scroll through Instagram, for example, or TikTok, and see, or even Twitter. Oh my gosh, you just have to try out Twitter, turn off the ad blocks and see what kind of ads appear. And it's ridiculous. The most fiat shit to appear in your timeline, like these Chinese produced plastic products that will improve your life and stuff. They are making shit ton of money. Like, seriously, people buy stupid shit all the time. But the Bitcoin standard actually works the other way. You cannot just sell shit. it has to have a real value because this is an actual free market money, and now you're in the free market ruled territory. So in fiat world, you just make it shiny, go down to the most basic human urges and sell ridiculous, stupid stuff somehow. Yeah,
because people they don't value €5 or €10 or $5 or $10, right? It's like
exactly.
yeah, whatever. Like yeah, okay, yeah, oh yeah, we'll get that. Whereas, that's 50,000 sats. I'll keep the sats, even though
Yeah,
it's a very small amount, right? You're like, yeah, no, I won't do it. And this is something that we've all been through, this mindset shift, and something you must see on the site.
it's so ridiculous.
Really?
You were at my talk last year at
Yes.
Lindsay in our lifetime, and I've shown some numbers. And what it's the easiest way to describe the Bitcoin standard, does it actually work? Yes, of course. Is the median basket size in regular e-commerce, classic fiat e-commerce, is like 50 to 100 euros, right? That's the median basket size. And with Bitcoin, it's 1,000 euros at our website. It's, yeah. So, because they're not, the main difference, of course, is that they're not buying like once a week or twice or thrice per week. They just buy once or twice per month, right? Bitcoiners just schedule their spendings and think about what they want to buy. And then you also get the 1% return rate of Bitcoiners, while our fiat customers are at like, I think currently 13%, and e-commerce median is like around 20 to 25%. It's super ridiculous. Like
That's return rate.
return rate. So within
20 to
14,
25% in regular
yeah,
e-commerce.
Amazon is the king of return rates in non-clothing, and that's 25%. So every fourth order will be sent back without explanation. It's just they can talk about all their climate footprint and environmental bullshit, but every fourth order gets sent back, which is like, why? Like this doesn't make sense. Then just don't buy it. And that's the effect that we have on Shop&Bit. It's like people, they don't buy stupid shit. They will ask more questions before buying it, or they will inform themselves and then buy the product. And that's why you see have these huge baskets. And it's not like some people might say, yeah, they just buying iPhones. That's 1.2k euros already. And like, no, they're not only buying iPhones. We have families that are buying all their stuff for a month. They're buying gifts for the children, clothing, tools for their workshop or the kitchen, and everything, right? So it's very diverse, and it's always around 1,000 euros. They come once or twice a month. Sometimes people just buy a Bitcoin book or something, small items, maybe a little bit more often, but the regular Bitcoin shopper is at least or around 1,000 euros he spends per shopping spree, and then is happy with it. Like 1% return rate is like, I personally know all the cases of the last 5 years where returns have happened, and it's
That's
super.
mad.
Like it's just this small number where you're thinking like, okay, so how can Amazon and our e-commerce business still be in business with a 25% return rate? And it's like they just print money. They're just closer enough to the money printer, and Amazon is the side business of AWS. Like they just don't fucking care. They can talk about environment stuff. They literally just destroy their returns because it's cheaper than to store it. Like,
Exactly.
yeah. And it's true. It's actually true. We have returns from fiat customers. We're storing them in our warehouse, and I'm starting to think, yeah, maybe we should just fucking destroy them because it's cheaper from a cost perspective. And this is a ridiculous system that needs to be changed. And that's why I personally hope that the people start building their own Bitcoin businesses so we can get faster forward in this regard.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. And it's this fiat standard that drives consumption that is the true cost of like disgusting pollution, like overproduction of pointless, needless shit.
Yeah.
That resources could be and raw materials could be put to actual good use if there was signal in the market rather than just pure noise,
Yeah.
because nobody knows the true value or price of anything, of any raw material before you've even started making it into the widget or the thing or the whatever you think people might want.
Yeah.
It's so broken, and it's broken because the money's broken,
Yeah.
as we've all come to understand. And yeah, moving to a Bitcoin standard, all of that shit goes away,
Yeah.
and we get better quality products for cheaper. Like
Yeah.
yeah,
This is like, how can you hate against getting better products that cost less every year?
Mhm.
Like, I sometimes I really can't understand how these MMT guys are still like getting paid somewhere, because they talk shit all day and explain stupid stuff that doesn't make sense in the real world, and they get heralded like they are the bringers of fire. But it's like, no, you don't. Most people wouldn't buy plastic shit on Amazon, or we have some plastic shit on our website ourselves. That's not so. It's not, if you like plastic shit, it's okay. But maybe you wouldn't like plastic shit that much if you were on a Bitcoin standard. So that's the real question. Do you like the stuff that you just bought? Like, I think every one of us has had this moment in their life where they're like, you know what, I'm feeling bad. I'm just buying something for myself right
Mm,
now.
yeah.
And other people would
It's
argue,
such a fiat thing to do, right? What do people call
is
it?
it? Is it though? Is it though? Like, again, even in a Bitcoin standard, there will be people who will buy some of these items. For example, some people would say, yeah, video games are stupid. They're like totally fiat thing.
Right. Okay, yeah,
And
of course, value is subjective here, isn't it?
whereas,
So
yeah,
yeah.
but then again, what type of video games will be produced in a Bitcoin standard? It's like, that's a thought I had um, in the last couple of months, thinking about the whole business model of video games. So they're like super capital intensive and need to
Mm.
be pre-financed before they make a single euro or dollar, right? So it's a
So now
and
I'm
you,
thinking like you want to see a game where you're like it's a role player game. You're walking around, and the non-player characters are Austrian economists. That like you ask them one question, and you're like, "Fuck, give me a week, I'll get back to you."
yes, yeah, that would be also be cool. But I haven't had a good idea yet. So,
Right.
but just from the business perspective, right? If we look
Yep.
on top of a regular, let's go with the AAA productions, right? So they usually have a production cycle of like 4 years, and like, I don't know if you're going to, let's take a Polish example, like Witcher 3, right? Witcher 3 had a production cycle of, I think, 5 6 years to produce it. So that's 5 to 6 years where they're making zero money. So they need to pre-finance the whole production beforehand. So you need to get like a big loan from a bank or investors, or sell other games in the middle and make extra work outside of that, right? But then after the 5 to 6 years production cycle, you finally find out if people like your game or not. If they're not buying it, your company is immediately bankrupt. If you're only like middling reviews and middling sales, you might make payroll for the next 3 months. So, but you need to always have this big bang, ultra blockbuster thing that breaks all scales to make actually profit. So the whole industry of gaming production in this AAA sector is like broken. You can't. It does not work without banks. You cannot produce AAA games without banks. It's literally impossible. But now thinking about what would happen in Bitcoin standard, right? So you don't have the banks available for this kind of fiat funding because, well, they're actually just printing the money out, and voila, you have the credit. Yeah. Um, how would that possibly be? Would there be more AAA games that are impossible to finance? Or would we see more like, okay, we have these lots of indie games that are relatively cheap to produce, and but then more high quality, or would you see like these or see AAA games not anymore in this ultra high fidelity graphics department, but more like with Nintendo, where you have like I don't know, the newest Super Mario game is like Super Mario Wonders, I think, or something, and then it's polished to the end, but not on the technical side. Like graphics, it doesn't look like photorealistic. It's just Mario jumping around and killing some Goombas, I guess. But it's like it's more intricate on the technical part, which doesn't cost as much money as having this high intensity graphics that you need to make models for and all the kind of jazz. So that's the question that was pondering my mind. I have no real solution for that, but on this side you would say, okay, yeah, so video games are a waste of money or not, but if I'm treating myself with a video game in a Bitcoin standard, how would that change this specific um, type of product in the long run?
Yeah,
Like,
how does the industry look? How does the whole
how,
sector look? Like,
yeah,
they're fun thought processes to go through, because you have to turn your head upside down, and so that's what Bitcoin does, right? It takes the existing business model and it turns it on its head,
yeah,
because it's the opposite to fiat. You have existing business models that live on infinite amount of printed money, and the other
yeah,
business model is living on finite amount of money. So it needs to have the opposite business model to
probably,
even stand a chance of existing. Uh, and it's really fun to think, 10 years ahead into the future, and like what will it look like? What will this whole sector look like? So yeah, I urge more people to think about that as well when considering where Bitcoin is going to be in 10 years' time compared to the fiat currency of your chosen country, because
yeah.
it's going to be a very different world.
And
And we,
now
we, we all
imagine
think
that,
we're going to be like, what is it? Eternal riches and big titty bitches. But, that's fun too. But yeah.
it could be. I don't know. Like whatever floats your boat, I guess. No, let's even go a step further, right? So we have the Bitcoin standard. That's the excellent first step, and now we combine it with a free city, where we can live together peacefully, voluntarily, and keeping the fruits of our labor to ourselves and use it in the best way possible, namely the way you think it's the best way possible to use it, because no one can tell you what's the best way to live your life, right? So there is a bright future ahead if we keep on steamrolling Bitcoin adoption and, of course, self sovereignty, holding your own keys, and not just sucking on the titty of BlackRock and these other, big financial institutions that are so legacy. They probably would have killed Kain and Abel both just to get some extra paper. But it's like we have to stay vigilant on that part. I think for in general as the Bitcoin movement, we're on a good trajectory, but we have to stay vigilant of the people who want to go all in on KYC, AML, FICA, MiCA, FinCEN, FATF, SEC, BlackRock, ETFs, and all the other moinkers that they are throwing around, because fucking around with the government gets you nothing. It just puts you back on square one, or to use a more direct example from what was the name of the book? The Moon is a Harsh Mistress. Like, I will spoil it right now, but I think it's very. I don't know if you've read it. It's a science fiction book about a moon colony that wants to get independence from Earth, right?
Mhm.
And it's actually a free market book, like so. It's a very libertarian book, and the end of this book is that the main character gets dragged out of this room and shouts, put it into the constitution that there are no taxes possible. It's the only thing that will keep this independence in the, like, will keep your liberties. You have to never allow for public spending. The politicians, the leaders, they have to pay it from their own pockets if they want to change things. No taxes. And that's where the book ends. Like, that's the end. And don't know what happens, but yeah. So this is like, the way forward is to get away from the ends justify the means and Bitcoin as a combination. So I hope for everyone I hope that some people are inspired by this long, winding conversation about.
Of course, man. And I'm now
volatile
just
coins.
downloading. I've found it on my Audible. The Moon is a Harsh Mistress, and I've heard Sailor talk about this as well. And
Yeah.
I meant to download it after hearing it, but by Robert A. Heinlein.
Yeah.
So it's downloading. That'll be my listen to and the driving. I need some fiction in my life right now. I've been listening to Pawns in the Game by William Guy Carr, and that gets dark, and that's a whole different place. That's a real different place. So yeah, and back to your last thing.
Yeah.
You brought up you spent a lot of time like in the conspiracy theory circle and going down
Okay.
deep rabbit holes. What was your
Yeah.
favorite one, or what was the most ridiculous one, or what's one or two that you kind of were falling into step with, but looking back now, you're like, no, man, like seriously, stop.
Yeah. So I think the favorite big, in air quotes, of course, the favorite would be the Illuminati Freemason ultimate super conspiracy. They like this super big brains, and oh my god, they control everything, and it's in the music, and it's in the movies, and they have their specific symbolage and blah blah. No, that shit all, it doesn't really matter. The important part to understand is that when you talk about free markets, right? You have the invisible hand thing, but if you're like reading Mises, you already know that there's actually no free market. It just doesn't exist. It's just people who are interacting together, trying to improve their own status in life. And that can be money, sex, foods, whatever. Glory. That could also be improvement of status, right? And if you take praxeology and apply it to um, the fiat world, the clown world, if you want it, then you see actually a praxeology in work, but the evil twin of free markets. It's not like they're not coordinated. It's just the vilest, debauchery shit people that you can ever meet. Like in most Isley Cantina, it's the same type of people, right? They have no morals and they just want to improve on their life by any means necessary. And then you see that it all actually makes sense. That the government, that it looks like they work together, but for psychopaths, it makes sense to build a government where you can get control over lots of people without doing any actual work. Because if someone tells me a politician does real work, this is ridiculous. They're just farting into seats and make decisions for other people, guides, and that is their profit. The profit of a politician is that they get the power to decide over other people. It does not have to do with satanic rituals and Baphomet and all these other crazy shit type of things. No, it's just they get their profit in the form of power. Like that's the biggest revelation that I had through Austrian economics, because it makes it very, very easy for you to not get crazy. Because Alex Jones actually needs to read Mises and Rothbard, because he needs to put that pipe down of all the conspiracy. There is no conspiracy. It's just evil people trying to get the best life for themselves by whatever metric they think is a profit measurement for themselves. Like, so.
And by any means necessary, right? And so that's where you get
Yeah.
into bribery or blackmail or death by assassination. Somebody's disappeared.
It doesn't have to be that extreme. It can easily be like selling stocks for companies that are worth shit, and you know it.
Mhm.
That's the ends justify the means. And you could also say, yeah, okay, so um, I'm scared of this particular illness. Let's put all people on lockdown. That's the same kind of ultimate power. It's like, I like to use the example of, um, have you seen the Marvel superhero movies like Endgame and stuff, like before they went all crazy? Have you seen
No.
some of them? Okay, so there's this MacGuffin in the story. It's called the Infinity Gauntlet, and it's like it grants all the superpowers, right? Who has it has all the superpowers, I guess, right? So the libertarian or Austrian NCAP question to ask is, who is worthy to wield this Infinity Gauntlet? What do you think, Daniel?
What, nobody.
Exactly. And that's the point. That's the point. Nobody is worthy to wield this Infinity Gauntlet, and governments are the Infinity Gauntlet. It's an idea that other people can decide about your life and make better decision than you yourself can for your own life, which is a ridiculous notion, of course. But if you're trapped in this clown world or think about conspiracy theories all day, you think that is true, but it is not. The only person who can make the best decisions in your life is yourself, no one else. And that's like, yeah, how I ended my crack addiction to conspiracy theories. I read Mises and Rothbard and was healed. So
Oh, it's an interesting one that you bring up, that specific thing, though, because, yeah, like I said, I've just been reading William Guy Carr's book, Pawns in the Game, and he talks
yeah,
about all of that. I've recently read the Tavistock Institute, about the psychological operations unit during the Second World War and in the UK, and how they would, and propaganda, right? Propaganda is
yeah,
always used on the citizens, especially in a time of war, when everybody is in a state of fear. They know when it's best to stop. And look what we happened in between 2020 and 2022, and still today.
yeah,
Like huge amounts of fear pumped at the population. Stay home, save lives. All of this lockdown, do all the right things, and it's incredible the way that they can control society so easily. Like it's just like incredible. It was incredible to me. So
yeah,
yeah, uh, we need to read more Mises, like you say, and understand that human action. This is the psychopaths that have risen to the top of this, ugh, horrible system in which we've managed to trap ourselves under the belief that we have some small part to play in a democratic process, which again just all seems to be breaking down. That narrative seems to be breaking down in front of people's eyes.
yeah. But that's like that's the good thing, right? The system is breaking down because it's not feasible. It doesn't work in the free market environment, and as we know, there's no free market. There's only individuals interacting with each other. So it will break down eventually. But now we have the catalyst, the Bitcoin catalyst, to fasten this process. Because I'm scared that we have the same situation right now as with the Roman Empire, and it took like 200 years until it broke down. And that would mean with the fiat money printing standard, we're at least 100 years away from breaking it down if we take the historical measurement. And that is something that I find personally depressing. So I'm actually doubling down on my efforts. So please, if you like, everyone else needs to just step their game up. And I don't want to wait another 100 years to see the fiat system break down finally. So yeah, that's all. That's funding this kind of debauchery. It's like there's no other way to finance it. You cannot finance debauchery and on this scale without fiat money.
Did you also? I mean, it sounds as though you were down into all of them. What's another big one like the chemtrail thing, or what's another good one?
So I don't know with the chemtray thing because I wasn't the best at physics. I feel not confident talking about it, but maybe I don't know. Like again, is really the idea so far fetched that some people would just like to not see more people having a good life? Like if that's your kink, right? Like, you could go all the darker places, right? You could also say the chemtrails are not that different from the Me Too story with Harvey Weinstein, that he's like raping women just because they want to get an extra actor job, and that's the same kind of thinking. It's two different things, but the thinking is the same. As the profit for him was getting sex, right? And for someone else, the profit might be that you are living a horrible life. Some people get a kink out of it. There's nothing logical about it, but it's just the evil twin brother of free markets. It's, you know, the coin thing. I don't know. I just forgot to how to say it eloquently, right? The two sides of the coin. You could either go free market and be voluntary non-aggression principle, or you just say fuck it, the end justify the means, and then you're in the fiat clown world. And that's like the there's no, you could of course try to figure out why people are doing stuff, but in the end it's all praxeology. People do stuff to improve their status in whatever way floats their boat. It literally can be everything. People think profit only means cash, but it doesn't mean that. Profit can be anything. Like, for example, if you're, let's go away from the dark world. Let's go to the positive thing, right? So you have a shit ton of money and you are bored and you're a good person and you like non-aggression principle. So you start a charity. What's your profit in a charity? That you get the good feeling of helping other peoples. That's the profit motive. So we're still in a praxeology. Like, I don't know, you go to the favelas and build new houses and stuff and help people get good education, or just abolish school at all if it's more like your way, and then just say, yeah, fuck it, just live life, and here the streets are clean, the streets are safe, you can play there, and I'm so happy that you guys, I can walk around here and see happy people left, happy people right. That's also praxeology at work. So it's not like it doesn't always make sense to go into the route of finding out why people do stuff, but it's very important for your own mental sanity to understand that people do stuff because they want to improve their own status. And that's sometimes it's good to stop there. And that's why I stopped with all the conspiracy theories. As soon as I realized that that is the motive of the people because they just want to improve their life, everything makes sense. They're like, that governments do stupid shit makes sense. That rich people build build rockets that look like penises. That's the same. That's the same thing. It's not. There's no difference, and that's why it's very, very excellent to have this mental framework of Austrian economics, to help you succeed in life and understand your reality, and not like with the distorted lens of fiat mechanics where nothing makes sense. Hey, being in debt all time is great thing. That doesn't make sense in a real world. It's like totally stupid. No one would say, yeah, okay, you always have to owe people money to get a better credit standing. Like, it's like that's a super example, right? How to get a better credit rating? You have to make more credit. If you're having millions of euros in your bank account and never spending it, your credit rating is shit. But if you have taken credit on €1,000,000 and you're still in debt and you can probably never pay it back, they will give you more money. No sense. Why? And that's like, yeah.
Inverted clown world.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, man. Right. Final question. If you had
Yes.
one last orange pill left to give to somebody, who would you give it to and why?
Who would I give it to? That's a It's a very good question. Who would be our best ally for orange pilling the world? Let me. You know what? I go controversial. I say give it to Mr. Beast, right?
Yeah.
So I know it sounds weird, but he's doing this crazy shit on YouTube, but like in general, I think they have like 100 million views per video. So if Mr. Beast got a real Bitcoiner, hardcore orange pilled, full Austrian econ almost ANCAP or preferably ANCAP, then I would say, yeah, go with it. Because he will make probably the funniest videos about how government is shit and people need to start their own businesses and improve their life. And I think it would have a great effect. But but to give a more philosophic answer is I would spend all my time and money for this orange pill to be clone it as much as possible and then give it to everyone.
Yeah. Chemtrail it.
Chemtrail.
Yeah.
Yes, that will be my option. I would chemtrail this orange pill because I've bought a company that can extract the ingredients of the orange pill and make it mass production to just churn it out free via mail. Yeah.
Love it. And that would improve your life because then everybody would shop at Shopping Bit in Bitcoin.
Exactly.
There you go. There you go. And the ends justify the means, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to end on a praxeological note. Okay, so
excellent.
How can people reach out to you? Obviously, shoppingbit.com is the place to go. Buy your cars, buy your travel experience, and your lube for your honeymoon trip. And where else can they find you? Anywhere? I'll put your Twitter handle in the notes as well.
Yes, I'm on Twitter. I have a Noster account, but I'm not so active there. I think you find most of my free market ramblings on Twitter because it's, I don't know, I just like using Twitter. I have to get more on Noster in the future. I think we're also on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, but I think Twitter is our main source of communication. So @ShopInBit is on Twitter. We have our own Telegram group as well. But it's mostly more for support, but you could of course also talk about free markets there. And we also have a SimpleX chat group. I've found this nice little new private chat tool, SimpleX, and I found it excellent. So we made a support group there as well. But yeah, shoppingbit.com, @shoppingbit on Twitter, @Rothbardian at Twitter as well. And then I think you'll have all the infos you need. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thanks, Lando. Thanks for coming back on. Great to chat about everything that we talked about here. And I wish you a good day and look forward to the next time we catch up.
Likewise. Thank you, Daniel.
See you.